name is Dean, and this is Lake Log, a video series in which an aging non-birder paddles around in an aging red canoe and records bird life with a camera, and then tries to answer the questions he has about what he saw, and you get to come along if you want to. Anyway, this episode of Lake Log is about color. Or more specifically, why do woodpeckers have red heads? And as things go, one question leads to another, and another, and another after that. And questions are good, because without questions, we would have never put anybody on the moon, and we wouldn't have found out that carbs are bad, maybe they're not, and no one would have ever eaten an oyster. I was doing some camera tests while watching my bird bath, and this red-bellied woodpecker showed up, a frequent visitor in my backyard. I've watched this one a lot, and after that brief showdown with the mockingbird, and once the blue jay left, it jumped in to bathe. Perfect timing for some slow-motion bird study. This is a male red-bellied woodpecker. The red feathers on the females are only on the nape of their necks and not on the top of the head. The red-bellied woodpecker doesn't actually have a red belly, it's more like a dull pink. You can see it right there. I record birds in slow motion so I can watch their movement, and the red-bellied woodpecker's rapid movements are unique. The short, sturdy legs of this bird are best suited to clinging to a vertical surface, upside down, sideways, whatever the situation. They're not wading legs at all, so the woodpecker makes this funny little hop as it moves through the water. Because of the slower motion, we can also clearly see the nictitating membranes, those thin second eyelids, as they open and close to protect the eyes while it splashes away. And here come the questions. I understand the contrasting pattern on the back of the woodpecker that might mimic tree bark a little bit, but why the bright red head feathers? I looked into it. Color plays an important part in the plant world, and bright colors can help attract pollinators to flowers or help foraging birds spread seeds. But conspicuous colors or patterns in the animal world can serve as a warning to predators. This is called aposematism, and aposematic colors usually contrast drastically with the surrounding foliage. But contrast in nature is sometimes all that is necessary to send a message, as in the two-tone pelts of the skunk and of the honey badger. No bright colors here, but enough of a difference to get your attention. Skunks are found widely across North America, but the honey badger is found in Africa, Southwest Asia, and parts of India, and not in Florida. I just thought this old watercolor illustration was cool, and I saw a honey badger while I was in Africa. Brightly colored snakes are usually dangerous, as in the coral snake, quite common in Florida. It's easily confused with the non-venomous scarlet king snake. To be safe, just remember that old rhyme. Red touches yellow, kills a fellow. And don't play with brightly colored snakes. Can colors be an attractor and a warning? In the case of the rosary pea, an invasive species here in Florida, the answer is yes. The rosary pea can be deadly to humans if ingested. It only takes a single seed. Birds, however, are not affected by the toxin, and when they eat rosary pea seeds, they do their part to help move the plant around. Woodpeckers, as we know, true to their name, are tree foragers, and they drill holes in the tree bark to find insects. At one point in your life, no doubt, you probably heard a woodpecker drumming on the side of a tree. Sounds like a small airplane circling an airport repeatedly. No, sounds like this. Here's an interesting fact. The red-bellied woodpecker's tongue is barbed and can extend about 2 inches past its beak. We can see it in the detail of this John James Audubon illustration. The saliva of the woodpecker is sticky so that it can snatch insects deep inside holes and crevices. While woodpeckers are drumming away on the side of a tree, they're vulnerable to attack from behind. Do the red head feathers act as a warning to predators? Male cardinals are completely covered in red feathers. Is the red color a warning or a way to attract? Well, as it turns out, like a flower, the color of the male cardinal is for attraction. But why red? Cardinals get their red color by eating seeds or fruits rich in carotenoids. The redder they are, the more attractive they become. It's a clear signal to females that they are healthy. And the roseate spoonbill is pink. Does the pink color help to attract a mate? Maybe not. The roseate spoonbill is pink because of the food it eats, So, like the cardinal and the spoonbill's cousin, the flamingo, it's the carotenoids that are responsible for the coloration. But the pink color of the spoonbill may not act as an attractor or a warning or be an indicator of maturity either, as roseate spoonbills start life with pale pink coloration anyway. It may just be the result of evolution and a specialized diet. As spoonbills mature, the pink color gets a lot deeper and they completely lose their head feathers, going bald. Poor bird. I can't imagine what that must feel like. These spoonbills were foraging along a canal that feeds into Lake Osborne. This is the actual speed of their sweeping technique. By sweeping their flat bill back and forth, they stir up aquatic invertebrates like crayfish, which they quickly snatch, toss, and swallow. No pink flamingos waiting around Lake Osborne. Wouldn't that be cool? But there are some at the nearby Palm Beach Zoo, so I went there to take a look. Flamingos were once frequent residents in South Florida, predominantly in and around the Everglades and the Florida Keys. Hunted almost to extinction for their feathers, they are believed to be making a small comeback, with a transient flock spotted in 2014 near Lake Okeechobee. Whether escapees from zoos or naturalized residents, nothing says tropical paradise or play the Florida Lotto more than the image of a bright pink flamingo. And on a recent trip to the Bahamas, a local chef told my wife and I that if a Bahamian invites you over for some hushmouth, it's usually a plate of illegally captured flamingo, which sounds delicious. No. There are factors other than diet that determine feather color. The feathers of great horned owls are actually quite colorful, but we usually don't think of them that way. Their intricate patterns of yellow-brown shades make for perfect camouflage in the forest. The red-shouldered hawk appears much the same. Owls and hawks do not get their colors from what they eat, but from the melanin in their skin. And melanin also makes bird feathers stronger. The more melanin they have in them, the tougher those feathers are. This great horned owl is preening its feathers by carefully running them through its sharply hooked beak. Flight feather maintenance is very important to an owl's hunting success. Owl primary feathers have a serrated leading edge and a frilly, tattered trailing edge. This helps them absorb the sound of air rushing over them, making them virtually silent in flight. Another cool thing about the owl is that the eye takes up so much room in its skull that if you look into an owl's ear, you can see the back of its eyeball. And because the eye doesn't move in its socket, the owl can rotate its head almost 180 degrees because of extra vertebrae in its neck. Talk about head on a swivel. The owl's got it built in. White feathers have almost no melanin in them and are the weakest. Sometimes a white bird feather will have a black tip for added durability. We can see this in the wingtips of the white ibis and of the wood stork. In the ibis, these black tip primary feathers are usually tucked away, making them appear all white. In this case, the dark coloration is structural. There are other bird species that get their color from the structure of the feather. It's mind-boggling to me, but I learned that blue jay feathers are not really blue. They just appear that way. Tiny air pockets in the barbs of the feathers scatter incoming light and reflect back only the blue in the spectrum. This only happens on the outer side of the blue jay's feathers, so if you light the feather from the back, it won't look blue at all. It's kind of gray. And feathers can be iridescent, too. The shimmering blue-black feathers of the Boat-Tailed Grackle get their iridescence from feather barbules that act like tiny prisms, scattering the spectrum and refracting those colors relative to our angle of view. Watch this male as it flares its head feathers. This is either a territorial display, he's got the bird bath to himself right now, or as a courtship display. Maybe he's tempting a nearby female to join him poolside and share that corn kernel. So after asking a few questions, I have a better understanding of how feather colors have specific functions in the animal world and the different factors that can create those colors. From this new knowledge, I would assume that the little blue heron feathers get their color structurally, although there seems to be no explanation as to why they are blue. Here's one on the Silver River, doing its typical little blue heron thing. And here's one hunting the shallows of Lake Osborne. The mature adults have this wonderful lavender-colored head and neck, but why are they blue? It might not be for attracting a mate because males and females both look this way, and it's not related to diet as the little blue heron is not an exclusive eater. Green heron feathers, on the other hand, make for really good camouflage, and that makes sense to me. Sometimes when they are still, I don't see them at all and paddle right by. And if the green heron needs to be stealthy to hunt, this is a practical application of color. But why would the great egret be all white if its hunting technique is similar to the green heron or the little blue heron? What's the point of a bird that conspicuously stands out against the foliage around it if it needs to be a stealthy hunter? The questions just keep on coming. Does a white egret even look white to other birds? It probably doesn't. If birds don't see colors the way we do, then is the woodpecker's red head only red to humans? Most mammals do not see the full spectrum of colors and cannot see the color red. They are dichromatic, seeing only green and blue. This is why red lights are good for observing nocturnal animals and bright orange vests are good for hunters. Humans can see more and are trichromatic. We can see the colors in the red, blue, green spectrum. Birds are tetrachromatic. Birds see all of the spectrum we see, but can also see that ultraviolet light. Some birds sacrifice daytime color perception for better night vision. The owl's vision is very good at night, but during the day, owls are limited to being trichromatic like us. They're nocturnal hunters, so the UV sensitivity isn't necessary during daylight hours. It's believed that birds can see enhanced detail and depth because of that ability to see ultraviolet light. Two birds that look the same to us may look very different to each other, because birds may see individual color differences that we humans cannot detect. And this is good when attracting a mate. The more colorful a bird is in the UV spectrum, the more attractive it is to a potential partner. It kind of reminds me of my younger days when I was stalking my wife in the club under the disco ball and the black lights, making my moves. If a bird's response to color is instinctive and physical, the human response to color may be entirely psychological. For example, blue colors can calm us down and yellows can stimulate our appetite, but this may be due more to our human evolution or education than anything else. Or maybe there's something more there. Hummingbirds are attracted to red feeders because many flowers are red. Maybe red, yellow, and orange are appetite colors to humans because of the food colors we associate with them. Think of the colors chosen by fast food companies. If we change the colors, do we change our appetites as well? Or do we just make an iconic logo unfamiliar? Or is blue not appetizing because we have no reference to it? George Carlin once joked that there's no blue food, not even blueberries, because they're actually purple. Back in November, I was on the Silver River and I came across a male wood duck in a ballet pose. I almost crashed into a cypress tree when I saw it. Easily one of the craziest looking birds I have ever seen. Is it showing off to attract a mate? Hey, check me out, I can do this trick and I'm super fancy. And why is this bird standing on one foot? Oh, that's why. So why is the woodpecker's head red? I don't know if I answered that question, but maybe the answer is simpler than I think. As we admire the beauty of this changing natural world, our human emotional response to color may be the only metric we need to measure the value of that experience. And maybe that's enough. The questions never stop, and I hope to never stop asking them. Thanks for watching. I can understand the contrasting pattern on the back of the woodpecker that might or no one would have ever eaten, 180 degrees because of extra rotor things. What is that?